What common sense is actually wrong? You hold your breath if you run out of air while scuba diving. Wrong, your lungs will explode as you'll float upwards with a lung full of air, and you probably will try to surface anyway, and the air inside them expands. The proper procedure is to scream all the way up to make sure your airways are open. Except you forgot about scuba diving 101. Don't fucking dive alone. My regulator busted underwater once. I signaled my partner the out of air sign. He gave me his second regulator and we went up. Shit was as easy as when we did the exercises. Just like the simulations. Sometimes, when someone is having a bad day, it's better to just listen and agree, rather than offer logical advice. When I worked in spectator event safety, we learned, sports stadia, that when an evacuation is happening, the safest place to go to is the playing field, as it is usually open air, and therefore low risk, if it is a fire evacuation. However, common sense takes over crowd dynamics and people try leaving the way they came in, from the other side of the building. So this common sense tray results in thousands of people flocking into burning buildings. An example of this was the Bradford City Stadium fire. A huge chunk of the crowd headed back into the burning stadium looking for exits despite open air, the pitch being meters in front of them. Sometimes, planning and training can count against you. Look at the Piper Alpha disaster in the North Sea. They were trained to muster in the fireproof accommodation block and await rescue. The only people that survived broke training and jumped over the side. Edit. Of course they were trained to go to lifeboat stations. The fallback option they were trained in, if they couldn't get to lifeboat stations, was to muster below the heli deck and await rescue. Grenfell Tower Fire, UK. Any residents of the tower who called the fire service were told to remain in their flat unless it was affected, which is the standard policy for a fire in a high-rise building, as each flat should be fireproofed from its neighbors. Wikipedia. Many survivors told how they ignored this advice. 72 people died from that fire. Who knows how many would have escaped had that advice not delayed them while the fire spread. Don't go to bed angry. Me and my husband ignoring this rule has saved our marriage. Do you know how many stupid fights are caused by being tired? That's why I prefer the rule. No serious talks before 8 AM and after 10 PM. Arguing when you're tired is not a good idea. Do not ever wait 24 hours before filing a missing persons report. If you have a reasonable suspicion that something happened to someone, call immediately. In crime shows, when they say the first 24 hours are crucial in a missing child case, they are not making it up. I have to say that this was eye-opening for me too. When my elderly dad didn't return for hours from what was supposed to be a routine jogging exercise on a very hot day, I called the police. They immediately filed a missing persons report so that a patrol car could start looking for him. He was okay. He'd just gotten lost. Despite all the bad press coverage these days about misbehaving police, I love our local police force. They do it how everyone should do it. Someone who you can rely on in times of need, rather than an enemy to be feared. Ignore a bully, and they'll leave you alone. No, they just see a weak target. Smack the shit out of them if they already made it physical. Note, it is morally acceptable to nut punch when they've made it physical themselves. Going outside with wet hair will not make you get you sick. It will make you feel cold as hell though. Source, I'm Canadian. Have showered. The harder you brush, the cleaner your teeth get. All you're gonna do is cause gum recession. Edit. I guess this is a good platform to share dental hygiene tips. Brush with a soft bristle brush for 2 to 3 minutes. Don't do side to side motion. Make small circles on the surfaces of the teeth. Flick away from the gum line with short strokes and vibrate the toothbrush near the gum line at a 45-degree angle from the tooth. Electric toothbrushes are great. They are less technique sensitive and you just hold it over a tooth for 5 to 10 seconds without back and forth motion. Don't stick your toothbrush near your toilet for obvious, yet never thought about, reasons. To minimize poop ingestion, stick it in a drawer or get a cover for your brush. I was 40 before my dentist told me to take it easy brushing my teeth. I thought it was normal having to replace a brush once a month. The recommended time is 3 months. but not because you wear it out. Just because that shit's nasty, a little rinse isn't gonna clean that toothbrush out after you use it. Running hot water to pour grease down the sink drain. That water always cools eventually, and usually the same distance down the drain, where it solidifies, creating a blockage. Although it's best to never put grease down the drain, if you run cold water and run the garbage disposal, the grease will solidify when it hits the cold water. The disposal will chop it into tiny pieces, and it will float down the line, creating no blockage. Edit. Highlighted an important part and thanks for the gold. Municipal water and sewer worker of 15 years here. Pouring grease down the drain is never a good thing for your pipes or the system. Grease passes through the body the same way it goes in, relatively speaking. As a young man, working fast food, loading up the fryers with fresh oil, after cleaning and changing, it starts as a huge 50 pounds, white block of oil. As a sewer worker, one of the main system problems is grease buildup in customer laterals and system mains. It clings to the walls, a sticky white globular substance that is difficult to remove. Over time it solidifies into a rock-like substance, similar to the hardness of weak shale stone. Many times high pressure water is not enough to remove it, and the application of chemicals that create a thermal reaction are needed to dissolve it and move it down to the lift station, where it can be vacuumed out. Pouring grease with soap or detergent with hot water while running a garbage disposal does nothing for the grease. Any action it has, the grease will reform. Hot water liquefies the grease, soap does break it up, but dissipates. And breaking it into smaller pieces, it only congeals and clumps back together. Garbage disposals in general are horrible devices and, in my experience, are a leading problem, second to tree roots, as a cause of blockages. They give the impression that, as long as you can macerate anything, it can be flushed down a drain. If you think you need to add hot water, detergent, or on the garbage disposal to flush something down the drain, you shouldn't put it down the drain. If it does make it past your pipes, it's only going to jam up somewhere else down the line. While I'm not sure, there are better ways to dispose of grease than rinsing it down your pipes. Common sense says sun isn't out, and it is cool outside. You don't have to worry about sunburns. Worst sunburn I ever got. I remember reading that 80% of the sun's harmful rays escape through the cloud layer. Source: a poster in my dermatologist's office. When there's snow on the ground you can actually get sunburnt worse due to the reflection of the rays from the snow. Same type of concept with swimming as well. Edit. Please keep sharing all your gnarly sunburn stories, I'm living for them. But also please remember to always wear SPF and keep sun exposure to healthy amounts. BC I want everyone to be safe. Just because you're not fat doesn't mean you're in good shape. I've been vegetarian for 15 years. Everyone thinks this means I eat healthy. I don't. My diet is mostly pizza and pasta, and whatever microwaves faster than it takes me to eat it afterwards. My best friend is vegan. My best friend is also a big curvy woman. My best friend cannot roll her eyes hard enough when she hears people ignorantly proclaim that fat vegans don't exist because vegan equals healthy equals thin. I can give you a list of candy and junk food that's vegan. Vegan does not necessarily mean healthy. Vegan just means there's no animal byproducts or ingredients used to make the food. Edit. RIP. My inbox. I'm working on reading/replying. My vegan room at Atorius probably at least 2 to 3 times a week. I believe you. Distance makes the heart grow fonder. Psychologists actually showed that it's the reverse, which is why LDR are very hard. Out of sight, out of mind is more accurate. I think this is an accurate observation in short term for someone that you see so often that if you are apart for a few days then you actually miss them because they are part of your routine. Think parents who read you a story every night but have to travel for a day or 2 for work or a family emergency, or friends at school you talk to on the daily about everything and then fallen sick, or so you have dinner with every night who goes on a business trip for a week. Technically you miss the interaction until a new routine settles in. That people are good eyewitnesses. We aren't. Our perception of things sucks. We are prone to so many biases that we aren't even aware of. If I grade papers on an empty stomach, I will grade them lower than if I'm not hungry, and I will never admit that to be true, even though it is. I was told a story by my forensics teacher a few years ago. It's been some time since I've heard it, so some details are fuzzy. My forensics teacher was going out with friends one day. After a day at the mall, their car was only one of a few in the parking lot. It was late-ish at night, so they all hurried to the car. As they were about to drive away, a drunk guy came up to the car and pulled a gun on them. Keep in mind that they all saw the dude's face. They got away fine and reported the incident to the police. When asked to describe the perpetrator, all three of them gave a different description, despite the fact that they all saw the same guy at the same time from relatively the same angle. Human brains are weird. Now think about how many people are behind bars only based on eyewitness testimony. That is a terrifying thought. Remember to like, subscribe and hit the bell button if you want to see more.